Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, WTTW News' continued commitment to engage in Chicago's diverse communities. I'm Hugo Balta, WTTW News Director and your host. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month y un fuerte abrazo to the Mexican community celebrating Independence Day this week. On the show tonight,
Chicago needs to make space for everyone.
Why Chicago's affordable housing shortage is especially tough on Latino families. Puerto Rico is still struggling 3 years after Hurricane Maria. We check in with residents who came to Chicago escaping the devastation.
From 2005, the skipper of the Sox, Ozzie Guillen.
A throwback look at Latinos in 2005, Los White Sox season.
We also created about 100,000 jobs.
And in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, how Chicago's Latino community is contributing to the city's arts, economy, and politics. Now a look at the stories making headlines this week. Illinoisans struggling to make rent are getting a reprieve. This week, Governor J.B. Pritzker announced an extension of Illinois' ban on evictions until October 22nd. The extension gives state officials time to get grants for rental assistance to Illinois residents in need. The grants will be paid directly to landlords on behalf of tenants and to loan companies for property owners. But Governor Pritzker has also warned of a bleak financial outlook for the state, asking cabinet directors to cut at least 5% of their budgets for the current fiscal year. Would-be pot dispensary says the state's social equity application process is unfair.
They keep telling us, follow the rules, play the game. Well, that's what we did. We lived up to our bargain. Now it's the state to live up to theirs. I asked Governor Pritzker to please reconsider the lottery that is coming up.
Black and Latino applicants who were denied licenses believe the recent selection of 21 firms does not support the state's social equity intent. The group of applicants and activists protested this week outside KPMG headquarters in the Aon building, demanding the firm release the scores of the denied applicants and calling on the governor to suspend the upcoming lottery. Pritzker's administration says 13 of the 21 are majority owned by people of color. Chicago's Mexican Independence Day parade was canceled this year due to the pandemic. But for much of the past week, and especially Thursday night, Chicago's Mexican community found a way to make their own celebrations. Caravans of revelers waving flags, playing music, and honking their horns made their way through parts of downtown and around the city, despite rolling street closures. The Chicago Police Department says 15 people were arrested Wednesday night in relation to the festivities, but provided no details about those charges. The 36th Chicago Latino Film Festival has shifted to a virtual format for 2020. Originally scheduled for April, the festival was postponed due to the pandemic and is now slated for September 27th and will feature films from Latin America, Spain, Portugal, and the United States. Among the American films is the first film produced by Pilsen theater collective El Pozo. That film, titled Cuaco, will stream as part of the festival September 21st to September 23rd. And be sure to check out our website, wttw.com/news, for the very latest news and information from WTTW News. Up next, how to build more affordable housing that Latinos can afford.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by CIBC.
In 2007, Chicago passed an updated affordable requirements ordinance to address an affordable housing shortage, using money obtained from developers building market rate units. But in the past 13 years, just slightly over 1,000 units for households with low or moderate incomes have been built. And for Latino families whose average median income is lower than that of Chicago's overall area median income, even those units still might not be affordable. This week, a 20-member task force released recommendations they believe will help Chicago increase the affordable housing stock. The North Side's Albany Park is one of the city's most diverse neighborhoods in both the ethnicity of its residents and its housing stock. But when the 2008 foreclosure crisis hit, some of what makes the neighborhood so lively and vibrant faded away.
When we saw cash investors coming in and buying our 2 to 4 flat buildings and deconverting them into single-family homes, we lost a lot of affordable housing in our 2 to 4 unit buildings. And Albany Park is really made up of many Latinx families that have lived in the neighborhood a long time. And because of the deconversions that were happening, a lot of my neighbors left.
By then, the city was already running short on affordable housing, and the problem was getting worse. But rather than trying to get new units built in Albany Park, community activists like Diane Limas fought to preserve the affordability of existing rental apartments.
Well, I think our 2 to 4 flats are very unique because they have 3 bedrooms. They're family units, right? And the rents are lower than the other huge apartment buildings. They call it natural occurring affordable housing.
That fight continues to this day. Earlier this month, the Inclusionary Housing Task Force released a report with several recommendations for updating the Affordability Requirements Ordinance. The ARO aims to address the shortfall of over 100,000 units of affordable housing. The task force report cited particular fears of losing Latino residents due to rising rents in gentrifying communities like Logan Square, Pilsen, and Hermosa. One of the task force recommendations is increasing production of affordable family-sized units. In Chicago, the average Latino family has 3.7 members, but fewer than 5% of the roughly 1,000 affordable housing units created in the last 13 years included 3 bedrooms.
The developers say that that type of unit doesn't sell. It doesn't sell if you're charging market rate. But I guarantee you put a 2 to 3 flat unit here in Albany Park and keep it below 60% of the AMI, it will be one of the first apartments to go. Because those are family units, our Latinx are families.
Bickerdike Redevelopment Corporation CEO Joy Arguete was a member of the task force. She says as circumstances change over the years, the methods the city employs to increase and maintain affordable housing in Chicago have to evolve.
The market that oftentimes stimulates higher priced housing is not going to provide mechanisms for people to remain in a community. So if we really value, mixed income, healthy communities, then we have to make sure that we have the mechanism for that to thrive. And I think the ARO is one of many important tools to help that happen. Chicago needs to make space for everyone. We rely on workers in all of our communities to teach our children, to make our food, to work in our religious and civic institutions, and they aren't people who earn a lot of money.
But the housing shortfall isn't the only shortfall Chicago faces this year. A $1.2 billion gap in the city's budget means that the solutions have to, at least in part, finance themselves.
The idea largely behind the Affordable Requirements Ordinance has been that it's a program that not only supports its own activities, but generates revenue to support activities that have the same objective, right? The creation of affordable housing.
Back in Albany Park, Diane Limas worries about not only the present housing shortage, but even worse shortages to come as the pandemic continues to wreak financial havoc.
These are the people that are working 3 jobs, knowing that COVID is out there and still going to work every day. Those are the people that need the help, and we should help them.
The Chicago's Housing Commissioner, Marisa Novara, says the Inclusionary Housing Task Force's recommendations will be used as a framework for a revised law. Since Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico 3 years ago, the U.S. territory has suffered greatly. Subsequent natural disasters and ongoing financial crisis, and now the COVID-19 pandemic have all kept the island from fully recovering. This week, the Trump administration announced a $13 billion aid package for the island, and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden released his own plan for stabilizing Puerto Rico. In Chicago, hundreds of Puerto Ricans who made the wrenching decision to leave their homes and move here after Hurricane Maria also struggle to recover. With help from the community organizations, some have thrived in their new lives, but some have found it hard to adapt. Here to talk about their experiences are Samantha Toledo, who also works for the PRCC as a case manager, Elizabeth Alfonso, who moved with her young daughter to Chicago after Hurricane Maria, and Natasha Brown, Director of Human Services and Housing Initiatives at the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. Welcome. Samantha, let me start with you. You were here when the hurricane struck. Can you talk about your experiences?
Yeah, I was in Puerto Rico when Hurricane Maria passed. What I usually try to make sure people remember is that before Hurricane Maria hit, was Hurricane Irma a week before. So people that were in the northeastern part of the island were already affected without power, without water, even before Hurricane Maria hit. There was a lot of destruction, a lot of loss. People lost family members, houses. It's difficult to explain the struggle that ensued after the hurricane.
Elizabeth, you were also there. What was different about this massive storm than others that have afflicted the island?
I think we were not expecting it was going to be that bad. We at some point we're used to hurricanes and tropical storms and all of this. And even though we felt like we were prepared, we were not prepared for that. Talking about like food and how to be safe and everything. Like Puerto Rico was not ready for that even before. It's not ready now for another one. And yeah, it really hit us really bad. So I think that was like very surprising and scary.
Natasha, you work with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, helping what your organization calls climate refugees get settled. How many Puerto Ricans came to Chicago? What kind of help did they get?
So initially we had thousands of Puerto Ricans come in through our welcoming center, but documented on the city documentation was like 978 individuals who came and resettled within the Chicagoland area. We helped individuals with housing, getting stable, getting their medical card, getting SNAP benefits, getting clothing, helping individuals acclimate into the Chicago area. You're coming from the island, you're moving here. It's a difference of clothing, getting people to get on their feet, you know, trying to stabilize. They're coming from an unfortunate situation. They're leaving their home, their country, because of a natural disaster.
You know, I remember visiting the island on its first anniversary and just being struck at some of the areas. It looked like the hurricane had hit the day before. This week, the Trump administration announced a multi-billion-dollar aid package that includes resources for energy and education systems. What do you think about this announcement, and do you think the Trump administration did enough soon after the hurricane hit the island? Let's start with you, Samantha.
Well, I think that first of all, we need to make sure that the money is allocated correctly and that the funds are used and given to the appropriate resources and to actually help the towns of Puerto Rico and not for the administration to be keeping that money and not assisting the people of Puerto Rico. In regard to the Trump administration, no, I do not believe he did enough after the hurricane hit. There was a lot of money that was funneled and was not kept track of. The people were not assisted correctly after the hurricane. People were still hungry. Homes are still, to this day, not rebuilt. The infrastructure is still not done correctly. We know that Puerto Rico has an overall score of D- in their infrastructure. And none of the money that supposedly Trump gave was allocated to any of those resources that were necessary to fix at the time.
You know, Elizabeth, as we mentioned earlier, Vice President Joe Biden also came up with a package that includes forgiveness of some of the debt that the island has. But do you think that both candidates are doing enough to win the Puerto Rican votes? Now, of course, Puerto Ricans in the island can't vote, but certainly the Puerto Ricans who live in the continental United States can vote. Do you think both candidates are doing enough to garner their support?
It's hard to say. I don't think like it's never going to be enough because we've been needing a lot of help from years and years. It's not something like now. So I would say my answer, I think it's never going to be enough. And when, like Samantha was saying, when it comes to money, when it comes to help, it's more about like making sure it gets to the right hands. because that's how are we gonna know that is actually going to be helping us as Puerto Ricans. Otherwise, if we're not keeping track of this, if no one is being responsible of making sure Puerto Rico gets this help, it's never going to be enough because it's gonna keep losing track, and at the end of the day, we're gonna be back and back and back. We're not gonna be giving those step forwards to get better.
And speaking of health, Natasha, what should the U.S. government and in particularly Chicago do to prepare for a similar event in the future?
I think that it's a similar event will eventually happen, right? Because we're talking about climate change and the increased number of hurricanes and the category of the hurricanes that are coming. We need to establish a system to ensure that we are accurately documenting people's information when they're coming in, a comprehensive portal where we're keeping track of individuals to ensure that they're getting the help that they need, making sure that we have a list of wide options for housing so that we are addressing individuals and families and their needs, in addition to making sure that we have trauma-informed care for mental health services for individuals that are coming in, for domestic violence, for individuals that are coming because of these natural disasters, that are also culturally competent, that we're able to serve individuals in their language.
Yeah, certainly there's still a lot to do. My thanks to Samantha, Elizabeth, Natasha. Hope to see you soon on the next edition of Latino Voices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Up next, a look at how Latinos are contributing to the city's arts, economy, and politics in a conversation recorded earlier in Chicago Tonight. But first, a little baseball. With the White Sox clinching their first playoff berth in 12 years, we thought it was a good time to dip into our archive. Here's the late Elizabeth Brackett in 2005, right after Los Sox won the World Series, a team steeped with Latino talent.
The Latin American countries, especially the Caribbean countries, where we were raised playing baseball since we were kids, and some people really take that into a passion.
All that Latino talent has begun to show up in the big leagues in large numbers. Nowhere more obviously than on the White Sox. 8 out of the Sox's 25-man playoff roster are Latino, as are 2 of the coaches. Last night, Coach Guillen paid tribute to one of the great Latino players who had come before him.
I'm the biggest Roberto Clemente besides his wife Vera ever. I got a room just dedicated to him. My second kid's name is Roberto because Roberto Clemente. And I know when I make the playoff, Roberto Clemente is going to be following me and protecting me to make good things happen.
This week marks the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, a time meant to celebrate the cultures and honor the contributions of Hispanics and Latinos in the United States. In Chicago, the Latino community makes up about 1/3 of the city, and their contributions are integral to not just the Latino community, but the city at large. Joining us to discuss Latinos' impact on the business, arts, and political community in Chicago are Jaime De Paulo, CEO of the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Mirna Salazar, co-founder and executive director of the Chicago Latino Theater Alliance, and Jaime Dominguez, an assistant professor of political science at Northwestern University. Mirna, let's start with you. Hispanic Heritage Month is often associated with culture, like food and art and music. Mirna, how is the Chicago Latino Theater Alliance celebrating this month?
Well, we are very excited to inform that our event on September 17th to celebrate Latino Heritage Month, like I like to call it, is already sold out. And this year we are doing it because we produced an international Latino theater festival for the last 3 years. And due to COVID, we had no other choice but to go on open air, and we're doing it in at Chi-Town Drive-In with 7 live performances of our Latino theater artists that come together to bring us from spoken word to comedy to dance to music. And so I like to say that we're going to have Teatro Vista, Urban Theater, Repertorio Latino, Teatro Aguijón. Each and every one of them have been performing on Chicago stages for the last over 25 years. Aside from that, we're having Cielito Lindo, a Mexican folklore family that brings a lot of the music, traditional music from Mexico and Latin America. And Los Chilenos in Chicago, which have an amazing costumes.
I'm certainly looking forward to it, and I hope que van a incluir un poquito de la comunidad peruana. I'm a Peruvian American, so hopefully I'll be seeing a marinera or two as part of the festivities. But Hispanic Heritage Month is more than just celebrating culture. It's also about acknowledging the contributions to the American experience. Jaime de Paulo, how have Latinos contributed to the business community in the city and state, both as anchor businesses and also as consumers?
Well, just to give you some food for thought to our listeners and to our viewers, the Latino business community in the state of Illinois contribute over $15 billion to the economy in spending power. We have around 120,000 Latino-owned businesses or firms in the state of Illinois, and we also create about 100,000 jobs. So we contribute to this society, and we are here, and you know, we are reckoned to be with, man. It's amazing the amount of buying power that we have.
Absolutely. You know, Latinos are a billion-dollar business in Chicago and trillions of dollars nationwide. Now, in politics, representation is important. We're in an election year. It's a census year. Jaime Dominguez, how important is it for the government to be reflective and inclusive of Latinos?
I think it's important for any group. I mean, you want to be able to see yourself in government. I think it brings legitimacy to the government. So I think it's important. Without that legitimacy, it's very difficult to govern. So, you know, Latinos have grown politically, I would say, substantially, particularly over the last 20 years. You know, prior to that, I would argue that Chicago was basically seen as a kind of black-white governing city. But now with our tremendous growth in our population, the ways in which our representation has grown in the city council, just a little bit under a third. We've seen a growth in the number of state legislatures, both state senators and representatives. We've also seen, you know, Latinos run for citywide office and win those positions. So I think it's very, very important that Latinos have a voice and a space, right, when it comes to city governance, particularly around issues that are very important to the city, but specifically to Latinos, such as the issue of, you know, early education, immigration reform, you know, better policing around our communities, etc. So they definitely continue to grow, and I just see more of that in the near future.
And let's turn a little bit now to the national stage. There's no election where the Latino vote isn't top of mind. A projected 32 million eligible voters this year. Jaime Dominguez, are Trump and Biden doing enough to get their vote, or are they taking them for granted?
Well, when it comes to Trump, I don't think I don't see a lot of mobilization and outreach on his part, at least in terms of putting an operation on the ground. Contrary to that, you see Biden doing a much better job at it, but I would argue that he still is far behind. We saw during the primary season how Biden was very much lagging behind Bernie Sanders when it came to the Latino vote. A lot of that had to do with the fact that, like a lot of political parties, when they want to reach out to Latinos, they only do so about 45 days before an election. They get excited, they want to activate the base. But when it comes to Latinos, because of, you know, having such a young population, having such a large immigrant population, it's important that the outreach be done a year ahead of time, right? So that the voters become more informed. I think it promotes more civic engagement, and I think it promotes more enthusiasm to activate voters. So, you know, I think Joe Biden and Donald Trump still have work to do.
One last question, and this to Jaime de Paulo. In addition to the election, the country is also wrestling with a pandemic. COVID-19 has devastated nearly every industry and disproportionately affecting Latinos. How are businesses you're working with dealing?
Well, the data shows us we're going to lose about a third of our businesses. So our job as a chamber is to make sure they don't close shop, that they keep supporting the economy. So we're going to unveil coming up soon in the next few days a technical assistance effort that we're going to go out there and actually give one-on-one consultations to our businesses to make sure they get the right tools and the necessary access to the necessary programs to make sure they stay alive and survive. They're key to the component of society. We feel like if a business is closed down in our neighborhood, the neighborhoods go away. Our businesses are the heart of our communities, and that's what we're here for, to support our businesses And the more you can shop local and support your local businesses in the community, the more thriving community you're going to have.
Certainly supporting local businesses is key in order for all communities to get through this COVID-19 crisis. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it at that. Mirna Salazar, Jaime Dominguez, Jaime De Paulo, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you soon on Chicago Tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Up next, a look at what's on tap for tomorrow's Chicago Tonight Black Voices.
I'm Brandis Friedman. Join us tomorrow on Chicago Tonight Black Voices. The city's top public health official on closing the life expectancy gap between black and white residents, and a nonprofit taking stock in Chicago's youth, and a father and son duo take us on a tour through Boarded Up Chicago. That's tomorrow night at 6 on 11.
And before we go, a shout out to my fellow Peruvians celebrating El Mes de la Herencia Hispana. Chimpum, Callao. And be sure to join Brandis Friedman tomorrow night for Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, Amugo Balta, stay healthy, stay safe. Muy buenas noches.
Closed captioning for this program is brought to you by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, dedicated to preserving the dignity and rights of all individuals.